This program is part of the Cosmic Potato Podcast Network. For more shows like this, visit our website at cosmicpotato.com.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
I am Iron Man. That's a big twink.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
You are a toy!
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Why so serious?
The city's flying. We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
And welcome to World War G episode 208. I'm Troy.
I'm AJ.
And I'm Colton.
Okay, so I want to talk about this whole Will Smith Genie thing.
Yes,
Have you guys seen the new trailer for Aladdin?
I have.
sure have.
Okay.
Who wouldn't?
And so at the end, it shows Will Smith as the genie in all his blueness. And people are not thrilled about this. And I'm just curious what you guys think. What you think of his look and what you think of overall his geniness.
I mean, it's a movie, and also who cares, kind of. Like, I'm certainly not offended. Like, were they just going to do a purely CGI character, like, make it look exactly like Robin Williams' character, and just have Will Smith voice it? I don't think that would have worked.
No, because it's a live action movie.
Yeah.
You know, and you need somewhat him to be live action as well.
And also, it kind of reminds me of, the first look at Thanos, and how people are like, oh man, he's so purple, looks terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't Will Smith's final form.
Right.
Yeah.
He's gonna, like, if the CGI looks terrible, they're gonna make it look better.
Well, for me, I thought it looked weird. I don't know, because I knew this is what was gonna make or break this movie.
Right.
When they first talked about is how the genie was gonna look, and
I was thinking Iago, but
just make him a parrot.
Yeah.
And he looks odd. He just looks a little off. That's all I'm saying. Just a little off center.
I don't think that's Will Smith's body.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's definitely not. I'm sure they did like a motion capture, and then everything was kind of CG'd in. And no, I think it's basically just his face, and that's about it.
And that's probably why it looks so weird.
Which looks weird, yes.
Is he going to be just as, like, animated and out, like, just as, like, I don't know, Genie from, like the original one? Kind of
like
all over the place?
I don't think so.
Is this gonna be more of a more mellow?
I think he's gonna be more like the cool kind of Will Smith type, not that manic Robin Williams personality.
They'll obviously throw in a couple of new songs.
Oh yeah, I mean you have Will Smith in there. Why wouldn't you create?
It's gonna be a rap. There's gonna be a rap in there.
A couple new songs for the genie.
One thing that I do hope that they do is I hope they bring back the original voice actor for Iago.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah. Because I don't
even know if Iago's going to talk.
He's got such a distinct voice. Yeah. It has to be him if Iago does, you know?
I would do my Gilbert Gottfried impression, but I pulled a muscle in my neck. And to do Gilbert Gottfried, you really have to strain.
Was that like brushing your teeth, or how'd you?
No, I woke up and I stretched.
Toothbrush.
Oh, okay.
I woke up in the morning and I stretched and I pulled my neck, and that was 2 days ago, and it still hurts.
Oh jeez.
You should go to a chiropractor.
I wish I was young again. I have a chiropractor.
He has a guy
for my back.
Isn't that dude in Roy?
Dr. Lundell.
Yeah.
Dr. Kevin Lundell.
You actually recommended him to me one time.
Go see him if you're ever in Roy and need a chiropractor. Not a sponsor. So, as it happens with the genie, this has kind of gotten around the internet, and people have started to kind of make fun of it, and put the genie's head on different like blue characters' bodies.
This is gonna be the next meme for this month.
Yeah. And also, what they've done is a couple people have written songs, little parody songs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was one going around. It's a parody of Fresh Prince. And it said, in West Arabia, trapped and raised, in a magic lamp, where I spent most of my days. First of all, it's not Arabia.
Yeah.
It's Agrabah. Okay. Yes, it's part of the Arabian Nights stories, but it takes place in Agrabah.
You're just like fact checking this whole entire
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all blue.
Yeah.
That line's not bad. And all snoozing in this cave full of treasure and jewels. Yeah.
Okay.
When this guy and his monkey, they're up to no good, started stealing bread and money in their neighborhood.
Okay, that one's actually, I like that one. That's all right. It works.
Except the syllables aren't quite right.
No.
So I saw this. A couple people passed it around on Facebook, and I thought, well, that's not great.
Troy's like, I could do better.
Kind of, yeah. So I wrote down a verse.
Want me to throw you a beat?
I wrote down a verse, and that's kind of funny. So then I wrote down another verse, and then another one, and then
you
the
finished
opening
the whole
line of the song, and then I had the whole song.
Okay.
And I thought, well, let's put the music behind it and see what we got. So, for your listening pleasure, I want to debut the Fresh Prince of Agrabah. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped by a guy named Al. A homeless kid who thought that he was tough. I'll tell you why, he was actually a diamond in the rough. In West Agrabah, where I was born and raised, in the gold lamp is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, I ground a wish or two, but not really digging this life of servitude. When a street rat named Al, he was up to no good. Started stealing bread in his neighborhood. Got trapped in a cave and he called on me. He said, Genie, why don't you make me a prince called Ali? We marched up to the palace, but we almost got barred by this creepy looking dude with a bird named Jafar, who got magic powers cause he got jeered. Then he turned into a snake and things got weird. Al then told this evil dude that he thought he was a weenie, so Jafar ordered me to turn him into a genie. Thought we were dead, but my fear was misplaced. Now he's living in a lamp with itty bitty living space. Alright, so there you go. There's the world debut of the Fresh Prince of Agrabah.
I'm digging it.
I loved it.
I thought it was great. It's going viral. This is the video. This is. Oh wait, are you doing a video to it as well?
No, I mean,
Do it.
Come on.
You could make it big, Troy. Could get monetized.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's true, but it's a lot of work.
And unless there's no copyright because it's just the beat to the song, which
It's true. It's just parody, but even still, that's kind of a gray area.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Weird Al made a whole career of it.
It's true. But it was just for fun. I thought I'd throw it together, see what happened.
It actually fit. Like the
It's not
whole.
bad.
Yeah, it's
Right?
pretty decent.
I think it flowed pretty well. So, let's get to our news stories here.
This week in geek.
So we have Marvel and Hulu. They've partnered for several animated series. And the ones that they're going to do are adaptations of M.O.D.O.K, mental organism designed only for killing, Hit Monkey, Tygra and Dazzler, and Howard the Duck. Now, the reason I brought this up is the Howard the Duck is going to be produced by Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense because Howard the Duck, he was always kind of crass and was never afraid of swearing or anything like that. So that one kind of fits. But these, I don't know. It's weird because I thought that Marvel was pulling all their stuff, or Disney was pulling all their stuff off of these streaming sites.
Right. But then, like, to have Hulu grab a couple of them.
Yeah, unless...
Maybe they decided they're not going with their own streaming service.
Actually, no, I think Disney owns a little bit of Hulu. I think they do, so I think that might
Disney
be why.
owns everything. Of course they own a little Hulu.
Yeah. But yeah, you can expect these. Let's see if they have a date. Doesn't look like as of yet.
Oh, okay. So, now that Disney completed its purchase of Fox, it has a 60% stake in Hulu.
Oh,
geez.
There you go.
They own
Just
it,
a little
yes.
bit.
They
It's
own
theirs.
Hulu. Okay.
Majority share. Oh.
So, yeah, and those are really weird characters to pick, by the way.
Howard the Duck makes sense because, I mean, he's still notable.
He was in Guardians of the
recognizable.
Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then M.O.D.O.K and Hitmonkey and...
Maybe that's their plan, though.
Tygra
Take
and
these
Dazzler.
less known, less popular characters and make them popular, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, or at least try to do so. You know, whether it's going to work or not is yet to be seen.
Right.
But at least make an attempt at it.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that we haven't seen in a while, Psych, the movie sequel, is officially greenlit. Did you guys watch Sean and Gus back in the day?
I did.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was such a great show. I think I have them actually all on DVD, like the whole series. Yeah.
Nope, never did.
I think you'd enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about this before.
No, we've talked about... have we? I don't...
We've talked about Psych before.
Yeah.
Because Joel messaged me after he listened to the episode and said, dude, you've never seen Psych? That was one of his big shows back in the day.
Yeah.
It's basically a modern-day Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the basic premise, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those that aren't too familiar with it, he's very intuitive thanks to his father growing up that was always like challenging him because he was on the police force himself.
Yeah.
So he had his son go around and kind of like be observant and look around. And now, skip to present day, he pretends to be a psychic and he helps the police force. And it's kind of like a castle dynamic.
Right.
Similar to that. I think the main reason that this got brought back up is because the actor that plays Sean, he's also in that one TV show for Netflix, A Million Little Things. Are you familiar with that one at all?
I've never heard of it.
Oh. It's pretty decent. I think we talked about it like a couple weeks ago. That I finished the series. But I think, I don't know. My only question is this like too little too late? Because it happened a couple of years ago, right?
Oh, yeah. This is a pretty old series. I think it's been 10 years since they've had a new episode.
I think so. Yeah,
Really?
it's been off the air for quite a while.
Yeah, so to bring it up now, they kind of missed their... You know, the best thing about a lot of these like TV shows to movies is they don't wait that long in between. Like Firefly, Serenity, you know, even like the Simpsons movies that they did. They kind of like, oh yeah, while we're still doing the series.
Yeah, while
it's
still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
And like, or you go like the Breaking Bad route and they're coming out with a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that one's kind of right at the right time because Breaking Bad hasn't been off the air for that long.
Well, this one actually, I just looked it up. The last season premiered on January 8th, 2014. So it's only been 5 years.
All right, so not too long.
Okay.
I thought it'd been
Breaking Bad, I think it was...
I thought it'd been longer than that.
Let me look that up as well, because they might have been off the air around the same time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think, okay, so they did have like a couple of last seasons with Psych, but it just wasn't, like it was on USA, but it wasn't just as big as it once was.
The last episode of Breaking Bad was September 29th, 2013, so it's been off the air.
Well, hey, never mind then.
Dang.
Pay no attention to me.
I guess they're giving it time to kind of like simmer. I don't know. I still think that they've missed their chance.
Well, I think part of the reason is, like, Breaking Bad is the kind of show that you follow until the end, and then it has a conclusive end. And then Psych's one of those movies that or shows that you really love, and then maybe you kind of drift off towards the end. Like, I don't know if I watched the final season of Psych.
Yeah.
But that's also because I moved out of my house and I didn't have any way to watch it, because millennials don't have cable.
It's true.
Are there any other TV shows that you think that you would probably want to see them make a movie?
Firefly.
There he did. Serenity.
Oh.
Friends.
Friends? Yeah,
I could see a Friends movie.
I just want everything to just be all wrapped up.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on with everybody, and just like, okay, great, we're done.
Okay. Put a nice little bow on it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about being off the air for a long time. That one's been off the air since 2004.
Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Would you like to see Seinfeld have a movie?
I would.
No, he wants to see the remake of Seinfeld with the millennial versions.
Yeah. Maybe just Elaine. That would be good. They kind of did that in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay.
They brought back the cast and kind of did a faux kind of reunion show.
Right.
Other than that, I don't know. I think most TV series that I watch, at least, wrapped up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Or fizzled out and nobody cares, like The Office.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The
last season was not good.
Yeah.
They lost their spark real quick after Steve Carell left.
Mm-hmm. Good old Michael Scott.
Mm-hmm. And then they kept going for quite a few seasons.
Limped along. I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the very last season that it kind of is not their best material.
Yeah, not great. Oh, by the way, I was just looking at this. They have this little column next to the story, and they're talking about The Masked Singer. I watched an episode of that.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I actually kind of got sucked into it. Because I was like, well, I was trying to guess who the singers were.
And could you tell?
And they were giving them clues. And no. I mean, there were a couple clues that were given, and the judges kind of made their guess. And I was like, I bet it's that person. It's that person. Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to get sucked into it, but I was. And they revealed who the alien was.
Who was the alien?
LaToya Jackson.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I stopped watching after the second episode. I don't know if Emily's watched it since then, though.
Yeah. I haven't watched it since I watched that episode. I think I was waiting for something else to come on after it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'll watch this. I was like, well, who's the bee? The bee's really good. Bee's a really good singer. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Netflix and Marvel and all that, and Hulu, Hulu says, and now that I know that Disney owns 60% of Hulu, it's not surprising, that they are open to bringing the Marvel Netflix series over to Hulu and continuing them over there. They're not saying they're going to do it, but they've said that they are open to it.
I guess they would continue on. Okay, do you feel like Daredevil has kind of gotten a conclusion? As much as we love it, yes, and we would like to see it continue.
Daredevil, I think they can leave it where it is. That one's good, but...
And that was the only one that pretty much anyone cared about, for real.
Yeah, that's true.
Jessica Jones, there's some still followers.
I think for my own OCD, I'd like to see them do 3 seasons of each show.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Iron Fist?
Yeah, even Iron Fist. I think with season 2 of Iron Fist, I think they were ramping up to something that could be cool.
Yeah.
But then it got canceled, and that wasn't going to happen. But they were really starting to pick up steam a little bit. They were doing more with the martial arts and less with all the other crap, which was really what people wanted to see in the first place.
Right.
And then with Jessica Jones, I know I've given a lot of crap over the years, but actually the second season wasn't bad. I thought it was actually pretty good.
I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was pretty decent. I was going to say, as far as the Iron Fist goes, the problem that I would have with it is, I love seeing the martial arts and the different, them doing all these cool different fight scenes. The problem that you might run into is where you had with Daredevil, because you go back to it because it's the best out of them all.
Right, yeah.
But you've got Daredevil where they kind of sprinkled in some really cool fights that made you continue watching.
Right.
If you get too many fights in there, then it's kind of lackluster and doesn't really hold up its appeal.
The Defenders series.
Yeah. The Punisher, that's also, we kind of forget about that one.
I actually just remembered that there was a second season to The Punisher.
Yeah.
I haven't watched 1 second of it.
Watched the first season, didn't much care for. I mean, it was okay. It had some pretty cool fight scenes.
I mean, really, here's what I've watched of these shows. Daredevil, I've watched all 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Cage.
Up to episode 6?
No, Luke Cage, I watched the whole season.
Okay.
Jessica Jones, I watched both seasons. Iron Fist, I watched the first 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Punisher, I watched the first 6 episodes of the first season.
Okay.
And then,
which the Punisher, they started off all strong.
They did.
Right? That first episode where he's just, like, working with those construction guys and just beats the crap out of them. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. And then it just kind of fizzled out.
And then, like I said, Punisher Season 2 I haven't watched. Iron Fist Season 2 I watched all of. So I'm a little sporadic here and there, but yeah.
See, I feel like the thing that Daredevil did right is they actually made you care about the other characters in the show, not just Daredevil himself.
Right. See, I think that's what Jessica Jones does really well. As well, especially in that second season. I think you start to care about those secondary characters.
Which is nice because then they've got motive to fight and they're invested, but then they've also got weaknesses that can be exposed by these people that, they take advantage of.
See, and then in Luke Cage, I didn't really care about anybody, including Luke Cage. Like, I couldn't emotionally connect with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Luke Cage for what it was. But I've never been on board with that character in the first place. Ever since he's been around, I've known of him. He had a really cool run in Avengers for a while when he was an Avenger.
Shaft and Superman had a baby.
Yeah, kind of. But other than that, I mean, I just wasn't. I've never been interested in that character.
Or maybe Blade and Superman.
I think you got it right with Shaft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ectotron. Did you guys get a chance to check this out?
Yes. I think it was really cool.
It looks really impressive. Let me pull the... Oh, okay. So, yeah, they brought the Transformers. This is the first time that the Ghostbusters and Transformers have combined to create this awesome looking toy that it doesn't I looked through the whole entire article and read it all, and it didn't have a price tag on it.
Oh, I'm sure it's got to be
like
$60-$70.
Oh, really? I was thinking closer to 100.
Because a good Transformer, especially one that's really detailed like that, yeah, it'll run you about 60 or 70. From what I remember, it's been a while since I've bought any Transformer. But
when was the last time you bought a Transformer? Like 2 weeks ago.
Actually, I don't think I've ever bought a Transformer. But when I
used to buy the Beast Wars characters. I had Rat Trap and all of them.
When I was going to Toys R Us, when it was still around.
Which it might be coming back, right?
Coming back. And I would see prices, those detailed Transformers would be about that much.
Well, see, it got me thinking when I saw this one, I'm just like, this could actually work. And then I started thinking of a conspiracy theory that all of these iconic vehicles throughout movies and everything, they're actually real. There's Transformers.
There was an artist that actually did that, took a bunch of famous vehicles and turned them into Transformers. I think they did the Ecto one. They did Batmobile. They did the DeLorean, Back to the Future DeLorean, and just kind of made them into Transformers.
I pulled up this list a little bit ago.
Chitty, bang, bang.
Right? The Love Bug, Herbie, Get Smarts, vehicle. No, none of these. Thelma and Louise, their Ford Thunderbird.
Herbie could go on adventures with Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're the same vehicle.
They should have a cartoon.
Yeah.
I think this has potential. The Mystery Machine.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Be high Starsky all the time. And Hutch.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang would be like an old Transformer.
It's just like been around the block.
Yep.
That's kind of like
Has a limp and a
Lightning.
cane.
What's Lightning McQueen's mentor? What's his name?
What was his name? You have kids.
No,
What's his name?
I don't know.
Well, I thought you were like looking at me for a second. I'm like, not that I know of. Like,
I can't remember.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Some of these.
The Dukes
other
of
ones.
Hazzard.
Yeah, the A-Team.
The A-Team van.
That GMZ van.
I think they did the Dukes of Hazzard card as well. I think that artist did that.
Oh, best one. I saved the best one for last. Dumb and Dumber. The Mutt Cuts van.
The Shaggin' Wagon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has so much potential. Oh, actually that, that'd be a way slick one. The 2008 Audi R8 from Iron Man.
Yeah, if you like Transformers, there's this great artist on YouTube. His name is James Raiz.
Okay.
R-A-I-Z. And he made his name by drawing Transformers. He's done a lot of work with DC and Marvel, but he made his name with Transformers. And he's taken pictures of cars that people have sent him of their cars, and he's turned them into Transformers.
Oh, okay.
And he's done this a lot. He did he's done Pokemon as Transformers. He's done a whole bunch of stuff.
Pokemon as Transformers.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a bizarre. I saw one recently with the Pokemon as Avengers, which actually worked pretty well. You know, it had Bulbasaur that was like Hulk, and Charizard or Charmander that was Iron Man.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain stopped working there for a second. But yeah, check him out on YouTube. James Raiz,
Okay.
R-A-I-Z. He's really cool.
You know what'd make a really cool Transformer? Wonder Woman's jet.
Won't be able to see it.
Exactly. It'd be the easiest picture to draw.
Blank piece of paper.
That'd actually be pretty funny. So we mentioned Toys R Us. Well, when it closed, I thought that the entire thing had closed. Every store had closed. No, just the ones in the U.S.
There's ones outside the U.S.?
There are. They're still open. Just the ones in the U.S. are the ones that have closed.
Okay.
So the Toys R Us owners or the new owners are looking to put it back into the American market. Bring the stores back.
It's been like less than a year.
True, but
I'm still mourning. I'm wearing black every single day.
wear my Toys R Us armband.
Yeah.
But I think what happened I think it was sold. I think Toys R Us was sold to somebody.
Don't
And then they
toy
were
with our
closed.
emotions here, Troy.
That's good.
Like, I need to know whether they're coming back or not. Like,
And so I'm trying to see what this article says here.
I think that they're going to have to update it, and they're still going to have issues and problems like competing with Target and Walmart and some of these bigger corporations.
Well, see, so here's what they've been doing. Under the True Kids Brands umbrella, Toys R Us has been making preparations for a comeback, hosting some pop-up Jeffrey's Toy Box stores throughout the festive period and moving towards opening new stores in Asia. Building upon that success, CNN is reporting that Toys R Us ultimately plans to bring back both physical and online stores to the U.S. market, although there's no time scale to suggest when that could happen. Additionally, there are also plans to eventually move the brand back into the UK and Australia. So, I was actually talking about this with my mom the other day. We were talking about Toys R Us. And I said, they had an online site, but they never used it. They never really did anything with it.
Yeah, it was pretty poorly run.
Yeah. They bought and developed that site for like $40 million, and they did nothing with it. And I think that site came out pre-Amazon. So
they were like leading the way.
Yeah, if they would have stuck with it and really hit that, shipping orders and that sort of thing, I think they could still potentially be around.
Yeah.
But when you got Amazon and eBay and those type of things that come along, it just swallowed them up.
Well, that, and also you'd like order something and it would be about a week or two before it'd actually be available for you. Where
True.
you have Amazon, that's like next day delivery.
Yeah. So I think if they focused on that and focused on, you can still have the physical stores, but start moving to more into the internet and making more of an online presence, I think Toys R Us could actually do fairly well.
They would have to be big enough that they'd be able to compete. You know, because like everybody's, especially like on Black Friday and some of these bigger holidays, they're competing with these people that are dropping their prices like to ridiculously low amounts.
Well, I also think if they got exclusively rights to certain toy lines, let's say just Mattel or Hasbro or something like that,
Lego.
exclusively sold through them.
Yeah.
And so they like pulled all their stuff off of Amazon, that sort of thing. Then I think that could definitely help them, you know,
stay relevant. Yeah, for sure.
And then I would also think that in the actual stores themselves, I think it's time to get rid of the board games.
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of those. Start selling, you know, kid-friendly phones, kid-friendly iPads, you know, like cheap ones you can buy for like $60 that a kid can use. And
that have a lot of different, yeah, I think that they would have to have a lot of their own, like, toys in their own line.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeffrey brand iPads and Jeffrey brand phones and Jeffrey brand laptops. Because that's what the kids are into nowadays. They're not into action figures. The ones that are buying action figures are our generation and above. The ones under us aren't buying those anymore.
That's very true.
And so I think if you focus on the online presence and focus on selling that type of stuff, I think they could come back and I think they'd be fine. Hire me, Toys R Us.
I'll go work for them.
For your creative department. I got ideas.
Like, I'm not just throwing them out here for free. Like, oh, wait.
Well, kind
of. Sacramento plans to rename a park for their hometown hero, Levar Burton.
Yeah.
And I think this is fantastic. This is awesome. Rightfully so. I remember, so I was listening to his podcast, Levar Burton Reads, and in the very first episode, he kind of talks about his mentor, and as he was growing up, the teacher, so he was in the school, and the teacher said, "Hey, I need to go take a quick break. Would you mind reading? You're the best reader in our class. Would you mind reading to the rest of the students?" So he got to pick the book and he got to read in front of them. And that's kind of where his love for reading came from. It was sparked from that, being able to read to these other kids. And it made him feel good about his reading skills and like only want to read more books so that he could have more suggestions for people. And that's kind of where Reading Rainbow came about.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I think this is like long overdue.
I think so.
For him to finally
get
a park named after him.
Does he have a star on the Walk of Fame?
If not, he should.
He should.
Right?
Yeah.
Him, Mr. Rogers, and who's the third? The big three.
Bob Ross?
Bob Ross, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put LeVar Burton right up there in the mix of those guys.
Me too. Just as Geordie LaForge alone for me on Star Trek. As much as I love Reading Rainbow, it's all about Star Trek for me. No, I'm all for this. I hope they do. They've been trying to get a park in Walla Walla, Washington, named after Adam West for quite a while now, because that was his hometown, and people have been blocking it for some whatever reason.
That would be way cool. I want a park named after me. That's my new goal, guys. 2019.
I want Rolling Hills Park named after me. That one just right up there.
Yeah, in your hometown.
Yep.
Man, that's where I'd go like sledding growing up.
Me too.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of parks in Idaho that have my last name. Just saying.
Booyah.
Ooh, hey.
I already have parks named after me, guys.
Like,
they were there before I was born.
Mission accomplished.
They just knew. They knew I was going to be great.
Well, technically, all the forests are named after me, so you know they're all woods, right?
Warner Brothers. Boom.
You
Gotcha
win.
beat.
You win.
Speaking of podcasts.
Yes. So for this next little bit, and we'll see where this goes. I want to have kind of a frank, honest discussion about podcasts and about podcasting in general.
Okay.
Since we are podcasters.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Believe it or not.
Look at yourself.
I consider myself to be more of a permanent guest.
No, I would consider you a podcaster. You've been on how many episodes now?
Almost 100.
Yeah, see?
Since around 120.
Yeah.
You're good.
There you go.
You can put that on your business card.
Podcaster.
Which is actually, it's a lot cooler to say now than it used to.
It is.
People know what it is.
Yeah, people know what it is.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because Brandon Ushio posted on Facebook. He said that, you know, nerds are kind of the trendsetters. Because, like, podcasting are the big things now.
Yeah.
But for somebody like him, who's been podcasting since 2014, or somebody like me that's been podcasting since 2012, you know, you tell people that you have a podcast, they don't know what the heck that was
right
at the time. Like, remember when we went to Ben Lomond Lanes?
Yes.
And wanted to do a sponsorship with them. They literally said, "What is a podcast?"
I was like, oh.
And I had to say, well, it's like a radio show on the internet.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And yeah.
Yeah, but now there's so many out there. I think at last count it's like over 600,000.
Oh, I believe it. They're starting up all the time.
And so I just kind of wanted to talk about our experiences with podcasting, whether it's listening to podcasts, our experience with this podcast, things we like, things we don't like, advice to anybody who's going to start up a podcast, what they may want to do, what they may want to stay away from,
okay,
that sort of thing.
I mean, if you can't be a good example, you should at least be a horrible reminder.
Right, exactly. Which we are every week. What not to do. No, actually, I'll tell you this. Podbean, actually, they've kind of retooled their site, and they now show you your retention for people, and we have almost weekly 100% retention on Podbean.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
It's a small group.
Yeah.
But they always come back.
Well, what? Thank you.
We have like 100% across the board, so. Here's my thing. I boiled down a podcast into this, and like I said, I've been doing this since 2012.
This sure throws that around a lot.
We get it, Troy. You're an old man.
Jeez. All right.
You have been doing it for... It's not like you've been doing it for just a couple years.
I know. Well, 5 years now?
5 years, yep.
Yeah.
And so I think I have some experience, and I think I can speak to this a little bit because this is my third podcast, two of which, the first two failed completely.
So you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to boil it down into the 3 C's.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I've thought a lot about this over the years. Consistency, content, and creativity. And I think if you can do those 3 things, and if you can master those 3 things, you'll be successful.
I feel like you also need to have like some sort of a niche, whether it's, and like something that's got longevity. You know, it can't be something that's just going to spring up and it can't be a fade. Or
can't be a meme.
Yeah,
well, and
basically.
It's also got to be something you're passionate about.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're doing a podcast about probably the most common podcasts out there, the geek comic book TV movie podcast.
Yeah.
There are thousands of them out there. But I think people know that we're passionate about it and that we talk passionately about it. So I think...
And hopefully they can hear it in our voices.
Yes.
You know, when we're talking about it. Because, I mean, we're not... it's not like any other form where you can actually see what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, if you aren't talking about something that you're passionate about, it's not going to last. Like, I could do a podcast on, say, like, murder and true crime.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are doing now, and those are really big, and those can be really successful. But I'm not passionate about that stuff.
So it'd be maybe a couple episodes or a one week special we could probably do, but like to keep it going.
Yeah, how can I expect the listener to be interested if they can tell that I'm really not that interested myself? And you can tell that.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. So listening to a lot of podcasts over the years, since I've been doing this since 2012, if I mentioned that.
maybe once or twice.
There's a couple things that I think if you want to start up a podcast, you should not do. One, like I said, don't do something if you're not passionate about it. Two, I don't care how many people are on the podcast. It could be 1 or 20. Make sure everybody has their own microphone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you're having to share mics, then it messes up the entire flow.
It does.
And it also helps, like, this is another thing, this may be step number 3, but I feel like it's a lot easier. I know it's difficult for a lot of different podcasters out there, but it's so much easier if you're all in the same room.
Yes.
Recording. You can pick up on those cues and be like, oh, they want to say something. Mm-hmm. Oh, or whatever. Or like, even just like laughing with them. It makes it like so much easier. Yeah.
See, and I've been on like, use Cosmic Potato, for example, and Sean has actually gotten really good at this.
Yeah.
Hosting a podcast with people all over the country. He's actually fairly good at it, but a lot of people are not. But sometimes it can get a little tough to want to say something and not know quite when to jump in because you can't look at the other person.
Right.
And, like you were saying, you can't tell that, oh, he wants to say something.
Like, sometimes we literally raise our hand slightly to let the other people know that we want to say something.
Hey, we've got some sort of an opinion or something, Yeah.
Or you just, like, open your mouth slightly, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the inhale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's that. Also, find people, unless you want to do something just by yourself, but find people who are going to stick with it through the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for the two of you.
Mm-hmm. I'm literally stuck to you via marriage.
Yes, true.
We're not married, but...
Wait, what?
We're just as good as.
Just as good as. But yeah,
there's
think...
Eskimo bros and there's podcast bros.
Like, you find people that are going to show up every week. And be there every week.
Sorry, I was sick last week, guys.
Well, that goes back to your whole thing about being consistent, Yes. It's difficult to get, like, a following when it's so sporadic when you actually release a new episode. A lot of our listeners know, hey, I'm going to receive an episode and it's going to be on Sunday.
Yeah.
For sure. There's so many podcasts that I've listened to where they just will, out of the blue, stop posting for months at a time. Like Casey Neistat, for example. I was so looking forward to his podcast when he started doing them. Yeah. And then they were just super inconsistent. And I don't know if they've had a new episode for months and months.
And then, because we're so in that mentality of, look over here, look at this, and we're all over the place, that if there's not some sort of consistency with your podcasting, then you're going to lose a lot of listeners.
So, like, some of the podcasts I listen to on a fairly consistent basis, like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Mm-hmm. All right, he posts fairly consistent. I think it's like once every. It's like once a week. Then of course the Cosmic Potato podcast, Ear Biscuits, they post every week.
Yeah.
Now I have a few Kevin Smith podcasts that I listen to. He can be kind of sporadic. He can kind of be all over the place, and so that gets a little annoying.
Well, it's difficult because it's like also, their career and other things in life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And
I can understand that. It's just he's had some podcasts that have just fizzled, that just doesn't do anymore, and that sort of thing. Here's a perfect example. The show called Sci-Fi Origin Stories. It was hosted by Adam Savage from Mythbusters.
Right.
I thought, great. Podcast hosted by him. Awesome. Let's listen to it. His last episode was on September 7th, 2017.
Oh, geez.
And he has not posted since. And so, yeah, consistency is such a huge thing when it comes to podcasting. Even if you only do it once a month.
Right.
Do it once a month, you know, and let people know that this is going to happen.
Right.
Sometimes, though, you can post too much. Like, there's this podcast that I listen to called Stuff You Should Know.
Yes.
Which is really awesome. I love all of the information
Yes.
that I've learned just from listening to this podcast. But, for example, just this week alone, they posted on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Each of these is over a half-hour episode.
It's a little much.
How can you it honestly deterred me from listening because I'm the kind of person that I like to listen to every episode in a row. Like, I'm a completionist.
Yeah.
I get that from my wife now. But I don't have time to listen to 5 hours worth of podcasts a week from the same podcast because I like to listen to multiple podcasts and get stuff from different sources, but that's just too much.
Yeah.
That is. That, and I was also going to ask you guys, as far as like a length, what's a good podcast that's going to keep people engaged? I mean, as long as you got enough good material and you're not just stretching it out and trying to fill time. But what's a good length of a podcast that you'd listen to?
I think at least a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And going over an hour and a half is kind of pushing it.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Somewhere in there.
From anywhere from half hour to an hour.
Yeah.
I think you're good. But yeah, you're right. You go over an hour and a half, that's a big commitment.
Unless it's a really good, unless it's something that people really care about.
Yeah.
Right.
I listened to one that was an hour and a half long about the invention of pizza and where it came from. And that was on the Stuff You Should Know podcast. And they made it so interesting. I listened to the whole thing.
Yeah. And you can...
While eating pizza.
You can do that. I mean, and don't be afraid to evolve and change over time. You also can't be such a slave to the content and that sort of thing. Like, if you've noticed, we don't do the Marvel movie commentaries anymore.
Yeah.
That has stopped.
That, and also make sure that, you do have enough time, because when we very first started, we were doing half an hour episode, and we were rushing the entire time.
Yeah.
You really just got to think about the listener and what they're going to be doing while they're listening to your podcast. Because no one just sits there on the couch and listens to a podcast and does nothing.
I have, but I'm in the minority.
Yeah, but people listen to podcasts while they do something that's mindless.
Troy, don't go down the rabbit hole. Come back to the light.
I need something to crawl me out of this depression.
Here, let me turn on my phone light for you.
Crippling depression. Anyway, you were saying.
So yeah, people listen to podcasts while they do something mindless.
Yes.
They are driving, or they are doing chores. And there are no chores that take less than a half an hour. Hardly any.
It's a good point.
So if you're doing housework, nobody just vacuums. Nobody just does the dishes. You need to have it be long enough for it to stretch into what they're doing. And also it motivates them to keep doing productive stuff if it's longer than that amount of time. I will never listen to a podcast that's 12 minutes long.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
What's the point? It's like watching a YouTube video.
Yeah. And because there are celebrities out there that do that. They have these, and it's a 10-minute podcast. Some of them, why?
What can you accomplish in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's
nothing.
That's very, that's very true.
Half hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Also, I would say, and I've heard this many times, try to just be yourself when you record.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it so many times where I've listened to people that try to shoehorn in swearing and stuff. I'm that doesn't sound natural to me.
Yeah.
And people can tell if you're not being yourself. If you're being unnatural in the way you speak and what you say.
There's a couple of different ways that you can go about this, where you either have like that unnatural radio voice that just comes off as fake and not really who they are, or if they're being like over excited about something. Yeah.
Like that radio morning DJ voice.
Yeah.
You just need to sound genuine.
Genuine. That's a good way to put it. Because if you were, I can say this about us, if you were to talk to any of us outside of this podcast, the way we're talking now is the way we would talk to anybody.
Exactly.
Except me and Troy probably wouldn't be talking to anybody outside this podcast.
That's true.
We don't do that. AJ's the social one.
And I'd probably be wearing pants. So that's
all of us would be.
Yeah.
I take mine off as soon as I walk in the door.
I know.
Say hi to Troy's mom and take off my pants.
Just
That's
habit.
the routine.
It's just what you do.
I was gonna I'm gonna have to throw this up on World War Z 2, but I'm kind of curious.
World War G.
G2.
Excuse me.
How long have you been podcasting for?
Man, not since 2012.
Well,
He doesn't even know his letters.
Not everybody can hop up the bandwagon that quickly. That's 2012.
Okay, World War G 2. I want to throw it up on there to see what people do while they're listening to our podcast.
Yeah,
I'd be kind of interested to find out that.
That would be interesting. What else? So, I'm trying to.
We've talked about what you should do, or what we believe that you should do. Since we've been doing it for a while. What not to do or what to avoid. I think. Anything else?
Talk a little bit about the creativity.
Okay.
There's actually a lot of things you can do as far as a podcast goes. You don't have to just sit here like we do and just talk about stuff. You can do a lot of things. You can do, old radio shows if you wanted to.
You can do what Levar Burton does and read.
And read. You can do a total, comedy improv show. I've heard people have done that. There's so much creativity and that can go into a podcast. The problem is you've got to be willing to put in the time.
Right.
That's the other thing.
They do. I mean, I know it goes it kind of goes without notice, from a lot of people, but Troy puts in so much time and effort as far as actually putting these out and also throwing in other clips and cutting out dead air. And
right.
I mean, it's quite a process.
Yes, it is. But I do it because I enjoy doing it.
It's a labor of love.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people don't get into podcasts to make money. They do it because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you make money, great.
This also helps. I already love a lot of geeky things, but it also opens my eyes to other things that I might not have thought of because you guys are bringing different stories to the table.
Yeah.
But I also like that it gets me thinking throughout the whole entire week. I'm constantly looking for new stories or looking for new food items or different things, it
changes your mindset.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something will happen to you, well, I'll wait and save that for the podcast. I remember to talk about that.
We'll even be talking about something. It's no. Save that for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel sometimes we can't even have regular conversations because we're saving it for the podcast, and then it all just comes out.
I would also say it's important to kind of get out into the community, which is what we've done. We've gone to Comic-Con several times, done interviews there. We've recorded in different local businesses around
a worldwide
town.
Local tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's also important because it gets you noticed and people can kind of start to understand who you are.
The one thing that I don't know, maybe because we're having an open, honest conversation here.
Yeah.
As far as getting more listeners, I'd be curious to actually find out how to do so, because we've tried it quite a few different ways. We've even gone as far as to go to midnight releasings of games and hand out candy and pass out our cards, which I think got us maybe 1 or 2 listeners.
Well, it's like when we went to the frozen yogurt place.
Yeah.
You said that whoever showed up to listen to us,
I'd buy him a free frozen yogurt.
a free.
Whatever size, whatever.
Yeah. Nobody showed up.
I know.
Not one person. I was amazed by that, but
So I think when you get
weird.
to a certain point, you like if you want more and more and more listeners, you either have to rely on your current listeners to share it with their friends, so you could incentivize them to do that with free stuff or contests, things like that, or paid advertising, which I know. I think maybe one of you guys have boosted a post once before or something.
Accidentally,
yeah.
But I accidentally did.
Well, no, because originally I found out what it was from is I had helped out with one of those, instead of for my birthday, I would rather you guys donate to this cause.
Yeah.
I donated to a cause and then it got my credit card information on Facebook. Yeah, that's really how it happened. And then
you accidentally clicked the boost post button.
Well, yeah, because I was clicking on other stuff. I'm like, oh man, what the heck? And it took 3 of us to figure it out how to get my card off of Facebook. Yeah,
and it's not cheap to boost a post. It's like $30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I kept seeing these
Random-
posts boosted by Alex J. Warner. I'm like, what is he doing? I mean, good for him.
Random. I mean, why don't we pick better ones? Though?
Yeah. It was just random posts. I'm like, this is really weird.
Yeah. And no listeners from it though, huh?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe.
We'll have to go check and
See if
look at the
was-
logs for that week.
Right.
What else was I was gonna talk about?
Honestly,
Dang,
I think
I had a point.
I think that we get a lot of our listeners from around the time that we're doing the March movie Madness in April.
Yes,
That is our biggest event.
which is coming soon.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we did more events like that, then and let us know if you guys think that we if you like March Movie Madness and you want to see more things like it. It takes a lot of effort to accomplish
Yeah.
on our end, but if you guys enjoy it, I'm sure that.
But
we can
and
work
that's the other
something out.
thing. If we can see that people are participating and doing these things, that we are then more apt to do more stuff like that.
Exactly.
You know, because I think with all the podcasts I listen to, is there any time where I've said, "Hey, you should check out this podcast," just out in the world? Nope.
Yeah. No.
Or I think, is there ever been a time where I've gone out and bought merchandise from a podcast? Nope. So I get and I understand why people haven't and why, you know, maybe sometimes it's a little tough to get the word out there. I get that. I'm right there with you. But then I'm also on the other side, being a content creator, as we are, that it would really help us out if you did. It'd really be awesome if you did. All right. Yeah, I think that's about it. Pretty much said everything I wanted to say about that.
Well, honestly, one of the biggest things, I think, because every single podcast is different. If an over an hour and a half long episode works for you and that's what your good content is, then do that. If it's less than a half hour, do that too. But most importantly, take feedback from your listeners. If they tell you, and it's a common theme of, hey, we don't like this thing, or you don't see them listening to specific episodes like our commentaries. I think we did get a lot of listeners for our commentaries, but they are a lot of effort and...
Yeah, and from what I've seen, we would have a spike in that, but then they would immediately drop off next episode after. So our core listeners, I don't think were the ones that were really listening to that. And I've asked people on Facebook that listen all the time, that I know listen, and the majority of them was, it's not really, I can take them or leave them.
Okay.
And the other thing, just like you were saying, they don't have time, a lot of them, especially if they have families, to sit down, watch a movie, and
feature-length film.
Listen to us at the same time, and they just don't have time to do that.
Well, and then even if they do play the movie at the exact same time as we do, how many people actually sit through an entire movie without pausing?
Right.
And then they have to synchronize the pausing of the show and the...
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more of a hassle. One last point and one last thing that I'd like to bring up is, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but are there any other podcasts that you would love to actually like create? You know, if you had the time, like which other one? I know you said that Troy, you said that you'd do a Friends one as well. I really would love
Friends
to do
and family.
I would love to do like a video game one that's more geared towards just video games.
Yeah.
And also one for like graphic novels and some of these obscure ones that you've probably never heard of and like should probably go check out because I read a ton of them. So, well,
I'll say this: I've been toying around in my head to maybe do like something daily, like a daily show or something like that,
like a vlog but in podcast form.
Yeah. So I've been toying with that around in my head. The other thing is, and this isn't a slight on you guys in any way, but to be in a podcast with somebody that, what's a good way to put this?
We have different opinions?
No, that I can talk at length about one certain topic. Like, for example, if I wanted to talk about, let's say, for example, professional wrestling.
Right.
I can't really talk about that with the two of you, I don't think, because you guys aren't really into that.
Right.
Or if I really want to do like a deep dive on comic books, like AJ, you and I could probably talk about that. But then Colton, I don't think could, right? And so it's not a bad thing because we all bring different things to the table, and it works. But to have a podcast where it just centered on one topic and to talk about that, you know, every week, I think that'd be something I'd enjoy doing.
Yeah, and it would take some definite like dedication because then you'd have to do like research yourself, you know, eventually to keep it going. But that's also like the really nice thing is that we're all offering, and that's another thing that you could bring up is make sure that like, you know, you have people that you're going to like be in it for the long haul, but also ones that have differing, like they all have a common goal and they all have like, you know, all things geek, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time that they can talk about other things as well. So they're bringing other stuff to the table. Otherwise, if it was just like another, you know, like three Troys sitting around, around here, it might get a little bit like stagnant.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I totally get that. But that's another reason why I've been toying around with the daily podcast. It's kind of to talk about these things that otherwise I may not be able to talk about here. You know.
And if we were a big enough name, you could probably do like kind of like a side shoot of you know what I mean, like as far as like with television shows go, where they do a branch off of another
spinoff.
A spinoff. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case just yet.
Yeah, but and honestly, to talk about you listeners, like I said, we have a core group of listeners that listen to every episode, at least on Podbean, because that's the only analytics that I can see. And I'm constantly amazed that you guys continue to listen week after week after week after week. And I want to thank you guys for that because, like I said earlier, we are doing a podcast about probably the most common topic out there currently. And there's even like celebrities out there talking about this sort of stuff. So the fact that we get any listeners at all
it still surprises me as well.
It's still surprising.
Well, and I think one of the big factors in that, it's not the content that they really care about, it's the people. They like listening to our conversations and our takes, and sometimes they get a laugh out of it. Occasionally.
Once in a while.
But yeah, so I guess in the end, what I'm saying is listen to more podcasts and share those podcasts.
And there's literally no risk to starting one, too.
No.
If you want to start a podcast where it's like reading a book, like Levar Burton,
Yeah.
you can literally take out your phone. There's so many podcast apps that just record straight from your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit down, start reading a book casually, like don't cut the audio, just read a book, and then you'll be like, okay, I'm going to stop there for today and be done. And that's one episode.
Yeah.
And then you can pick
Boom.
up. Every time you're starting to read that book, you just start recording.
Which I can say, sitting there and reading a book out loud and recording it is not an easy thing to do. It's surprisingly not. Like you think, oh, I'm fine. I'm pretty good at reading. And then you start reading and you start stumbling over all your words and you miss punctuation. And,
Just pretend like you're reading it to your kids.
well, I don't.
Cat is what he meant to say.
Well, I don't have any of those either currently. So I'm all
Pretend
by
like you're reading it to your mom.
myself. Yeah.
In other news, unless you guys have something else to say, I was just going to talk about as far as the movies that I ended up seeing this week.
Yeah.
Cold Pursuit. I'll start with that one. This stars Liam Neeson.
Okay, really quick.
Yes.
You saw Daddy's Home 2, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay. In the end, when they went to that theater, that was a Liam Neeson film that they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And was it or was he not a snowplow driver or something like that?
I think he was. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I swear he was.
This could have been like the trailer for the...
And it was called something like Cold Pursuit or something along those lines. I swear it was.
Dang. Yeah. What the heck?
I'm going to have to look that up.
Well, Liam Neeson and a bunch of other people. But anyways, this takes place up in Denver, out in the middle of nowhere. You've got this character, what the heck? I just lost his name. Niels, that he drives this stretch of road and constantly on the daily and keeps it open. Then his son gets into some shady business, he's in the wrong place at the wrong time when it comes to these drug dealers, and he gets killed. So now, Liam Neeson decides to take, matters into his own hands, and he starts picking off one by one these smaller drug dealers and working his way up the chain. He's just like, hey, who do you work for? Kills this guy, moves on to the next.
So it's like Death Wish.
Basically, yeah. So as he's like picking these off, like the drug dealer, Viking is his code name, because they all have different like code names, and it's kind of funny as they get killed, it shows their name on the screen. It's just like a big stamp with their name, and then whatever they go by, whatever their alias is. And so as he's moving his way up, the head guy, Viking, he starts thinking it's a rival. He starts thinking it's this Indian group that's been moving in on his territory, and they're like the two big drug dealers in Denver. And so then that kind of starts a feud, and he's in the middle of it, and like stuff goes downhill from there. Overall, this movie, visually, it was pretty cool, and it was kind of like comical, because they had like some parts that weren't supposed to be, or were funny, but like they were inappropriately funny. He's standing there in front of like his boy to identify the body, and the mortician guy is like cranking up the little lever to bring him up to like a reasonable height for everybody to view his son. But it takes about a minute. Like honestly, you just as he's slowly moving it up. There's another scene where these Indians or these natives, they are taking this body of one of the sons that gets killed, and are being lifted up onto the back of this pallet jack kind of a thing. And it's just like slowly moving up. And there's a couple other like scenes that are like that you just kind of like, it's that comedic timing where they just wait longer than what they should, to where everybody's just like, okay,
so it's intentionally funny.
It's intent. Yeah. So there was a couple of those moments, and it's Liam Neeson basically taken in the snow, because he's just going around, exacting revenge on these guys. But it's not all that great. Like, unfortunately, it wasn't anything. I won't remember it like a week from now. Like that I even like saw this movie. It was pretty forgettable.
So you think we're at the end of the Liam Neeson action films?
I believe so. I think that he could do more serious roles, or if he was some sort of like a mob boss where he's just sitting in a chair rather than actually like running around, jumping, trying to do like stunts. Because he wasn't doing anything overly strenuous.
Well, he is almost 70.
Yeah.
He's an old man.
Well, like the most strenuous thing that he did is he wrapped, his victims up after he killed them, he wrapped them up in cage, like this, like bird cage type of stuff, material. I forget what it's like for like
chicken wire?
Chicken wire. So that the fish could still peck at them and they wouldn't bloat, so they wouldn't, like rise to the surface. And he's just like, I read that in a book somewhere.
That's kind of genius, actually.
Right? I was like, that's actually not a bad idea.
How to get away with murder.
Yeah. I would say out of 5 blankets made in China, I'm at about a 2 with this movie. It had a couple of moments that were decent, and it was a different take on things. But overall, it was just okay.
The movie in Daddy's Home 2 was a Christmas action movie called Mistletoe, TOW.
Oh.
And I think Liam Neeson played a tow truck driver out for revenge. I think that's what it was.
Geez.
That's why I was getting them confused.
The other movie that I did see this week is Happy Death Day to You. Right? How creative.
Well, the first one was really good.
Surprisingly
good.
No, and I was like, I had high hopes, which don't go into this movie with high hopes.
No, really?
Because once you actually find out the reason that she's reliving these days, it's less interesting. It's basically like the Asian kid that was in there in the first one, he's doing like a final project, and it is dealing with time travel and dealing with these kind of things. So it introduces a couple of new people, and he relives a couple of days, but then it goes back to, it was really kind of interesting because he relives a couple of days, and then, because of what they do, it bumps it back to where she's reliving that same day that she once did. So this only takes place a day after the events that took place in the first one.
Right.
That sucks for her.
Right? And then so the basic premise is she's having to help them narrow it down to figure out how to fix this machine that they're working with. So she has to keep killing herself. She has to memorize, like these different like math problems and equations and all the different like attempts that they've done so that they don't have to repeat those ones because everybody else forgets
because it's their first time.
It's their first time.
Right.
So then she walks up to a chalkboard and she just writes down this whole equations and everything else that they've already constantly done.
And she has to keep going back and rewriting everything, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so she starts like just kind of killing herself. So you do get a couple of new kills that are kind of funny. She jumps into a wood chipper. She also jumps out of a plane just to be creative. She just does these random things. But it's also kind of interesting because when she goes back to relive this day, they talk about the multiverse, which was like they had to explain it, but I was already pretty familiar with it. Mm-hmm. So it like took a minute out of my life that I didn't need. I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with it, but I guess everybody else isn't.
I also think if you've seen the Marvel films, you're familiar with the multiverse theory.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly. So in this reality, she her mother's still alive. So she kind of has like some decisions to make whether she wants to stay in this reality because it's completely changed who the killer is and what their motives are and like that she's not with that guy anymore, and like so it really mixes it up. So you get a couple of different like takes at this, but overall, at about out of 5 baby face masks, again, I'm probably at like maybe a 2 with this one.
It's weird that they go from the first movie being a psychological thriller to like magic almost. That's why this is happening.
Yeah.
To the second movie, it's science fiction. Like,
right.
That's silly.
That kind of makes me wish they just stopped at the first one then.
Same here. Left it at that. Yeah. And then I would have been content with just the first one.
Okay.
Shame.
How long did we say the podcast should go?
Yeah, an hour to an hour and a half. We're good. We're golden.
Boom.
Yeah, we're about an hour and 15. All right. Well, here's where you can find all of our other episodes. You can find us at worldwarg.podbean.com.
See, it's more difficult than you think.
Well, I think I'd be better because I've been doing
reading
this since.
something too. Everybody knows how hard it is to read while being recorded.
You go home and try it.
Just read to your kids.
I do the scripts for work for our videos.
Okay, you do a novel then. Go home and read a novel out loud. Make sure you put in all the punctuation. You do different characters. You make it interesting for people.
Troy's having a meltdown. Put your pants on, Troy.
Here's where you can find all of our episodes at worldwarg.podbean.com. We're also on iTunes, Google Play, and on cosmicpotato.com. On the social medias, you can find us at facebook.com/worldwargpodcast. Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at WWG All of our merchandise, you can find us at shop.spreadshirt.com/worldwarg. By the way, if I can say this really quick, I think personally we have one of the best podcast logos out there.
Yeah? Yeah?
I'm just saying.
I have to agree.
Thanks to Colton.
Booyah.
I honestly think we do. It is one of the best. It lends itself well to like merchandise and other
Which is so funny. I created that logo like just because, and I was like, hey, Troy might like this. Like I created it just for fun.
Yeah.
And I showed it to Emily and she's like, you should send that to Troy. And so I did. And then, yeah.
Lo and behold, now you're on the podcast.
Yeah. You can also email us anytime.
Day or night.
At worldwgpodcast@gmail.com. Also remember you can call or text the show at 385-240-1692. So this has been World War G episode 208. That has been AJ.
That has been Troy.
I've been Colton.
And you've been the listener. Stay geeky, my friends.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.